one of Pappa's shooters came in, hit this guy with a shotgun and killed him. Hey guys, I got a story. Something sparked my memory. Something was brought up to me, and I'm going to talk about a story that was back further. It involves Gerry Pappa. Gerry Pappa was the leader of the Rampers. I did stories about that. He became a made member in the Genovese family. And he was already a big drug dealer and real vicious. He was doing a lot of murders. There's a guy from Avenue U, I don't remember his name. He was a pretty big drug dealer. He gave Gerry Pappa a lot of drugs in advance on consignment. And Gerry was selling it. The guy wanted to get paid. They argued a little bit. He didn't have enough money yet. The next meeting he had in a bar on 86th Street in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. The guy met him there. They sat in the booth. One of Pappa's shooters came in, hit this guy with a shotgun and killed him. Big problem with that. Everybody knew exactly what happened. The guys from Avenue U, Eddie Leno and them. But he denied any responsibility. He said he didn't know what happened. He had a meeting with the guy and somebody came in and killed him with a ski mask. So this is Gerry Pappa's nature. This is what he was doing. We weren't friends for quite a while, but we still knew each other. We were both made, we respected each other as much as possible. The Genovese family, he was with a guy named Dutchy. And then they put him with another guy, Sally something or other, was a captain. Because he became made, he couldn't be with Dutchy. Dutchy was only a made guy. So he went on to be with this guy, Sally. And he was hitting him up with money pretty big. And he was sitting pretty good. Back then, there was a guy in the street, Funzawal, they used to call him. Terry was his real name. But they used to call him Funzawal. And they titled him as a street boss. They did that to Genovese to throw off the law. They put different titles on people's names so the government wouldn't know who's who and what's going on. But he was a pretty powerful guy, this guy, Funzawal. And there's a whole bunch of stories about him. I'm going to talk about him in my podcast, so I'm not going to talk about him too much. But Gerry Pappa started dressing with a mink coat. I met him one time. It was a little bit past his knees. It was long, big collar, black mink, beautiful. Beautiful, big, huge diamond ring, pinky ring, fancy watch. He was a good-looking dude. And he was really doing this stuff and running amok and doing a lot of weird shit, unauthorized hits, and all kinds of things. These stories were starting to get back to Gigante. And Chin spoke with Funzawal to set up an appointment with Gerry Pappa to read him the Riot Act. Stop dealing drugs, get that fucking coat off, start acting like a fucking man. So he set up a meeting in a restaurant, again in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. And Tommy Lombardi was a captain in that family, and it was his restaurant. And that's where Gerry had to go, Gerry Pappa. Funzawa was there and waiting inside the restaurant for him to read him the riot act. Gerry didn't like this meeting. He got his crew together. There was about 4 or 5 of them, and they were all really dangerous guys. And he had them stay outside the restaurant. He says, if I'm not out in 15 minutes, come in and kill every fucking body. Even if he would have took a break from a meeting and popped out. But if he didn't come out at all, then these guys were going in and they were going to kill everybody. A couple of guys knew about it, his crew and a couple of their friends. I guess when you're doing something as crazy as that, word could get out. Word did get out. Gerry Pappa had the meeting. Funzawa read him the riot act. That's what it was all about. And let him go. So the shooting didn't happen. But what he set up did get out. It got back to Funzawa. It got back to Chin. Chin put a hit on him. There was a small little restaurant on 64th Street, or 66th Street, I think, and 14th Avenue. We used to hang out in that area when we were the Rampers, young. Dutchie still had that place. And Gerry went there to see his captain and to see Dutchie. But it was a setup. When he got there, Dutchie wasn't around. His captain wasn't there. They didn't know nothing that was going on. They got the owners. They were legitimate people. They tied them up and put them in the kitchen. Only to keep them out of trouble. They knew what was going to happen. But they could always tell the police. People came in, ski masks, tied us up, put us in the kitchen. We didn't see anything. We don't know what happened, who did what. Smart move. Pappa came in and there was a guy in the restaurant sitting and waiting for him to come. When Pappa went in, he sat at the table with him. I don't know his name, so I can't tell you his name. I knew him, but I don't remember his name. He was not a guy who was around all the time. So he told him, he says, Dutchie will be a little while. And then they were supposed to meet with the captain, Sally something. Strapped to the table underneath was a sawed-off shotgun, 12 gauge. The guy who was sitting with Gerry had one hand under the table on the gun already. And they were talking. The guy looked towards the front door and said, there's a police car. I wonder if they know about this. When Gerry turned his head to look, the guy took out the shotgun and hit him in the head point blank. 00 buck Magnum. Literally blew his head right off. And that was the end of Gerry Pappa. There was a big investigation in the neighborhood. Everybody talked about it. Some people said, listen, it's justified. This guy was fucking running around like a mad dog. He just wasn't listening to nobody no more. The cops came and talked to me because years ago I had problems with him. I guess the cops knew. So they were questioning anybody who had problems with him, anybody who knew him. So they came and questioned me about it. I said, I don't know anything about it. I read it about it in the paper. I heard about it, but I don't have a clue what's going on. It's none of my business. The cop took out a picture of Gerry Pappa and the wall behind him. His brains and everything was scattered all over the wall. He says, that's your pal, you don't know? You couldn't recognize the face. It was just massive blood, brains, guts, whatever. And I caught a fucking attitude. You know I knew him. You know we were friends for a while. Why the fuck would you show me that picture? What are you trying to be, fucking cute? Cop says, Sammy, that's what we do. Go fuck yourself and what you do. Keep doing shit like that. That badge and gun will only protect you so fucking long. Maybe someday I'll be looking at a picture of your fucking brains on the fucking wall. A couple guys there, Sammy, come on, take it easy. I looked at him. All right, Sammy, I didn't mean that. Well, get the fuck out of here. And he left. Funzawal was involved in a lot of things. Like I said, I'm not going to talk about him too much because I'm going to talk about him. He was a serious dude. Wasn't young, not tough with his hands, but dangerous as a rattlesnake. Anybody who became a close associate of Chin, you had to be that, or you wouldn't be around him. Chin wasn't the boss at that particular time. Fat Tony was the boss. Prior to Fat Tony being the boss, the Genovese family, there was another boss, and they hid who the real boss was. When Fat Tony was called as the real boss, Funzawal was a street boss. There was another boss who was there. Then Tato had told me, I forgot his name, never even saw him. When he passed away, just before he passed away, he called in Chin. And he made Chin promise him that he was going to make Fat Tony the boss. And wanted Chin's word that he would not take him out, not hurt him, and respect him as the boss. Chin gave him his word, and Fat Tony was the boss. So that family was a confusion all the time because of their tactics. Chin later on did other tactics, played the insane part, walking around with a bathrobe and a grubby beard and did all kinds of weird shit. It actually worked for years and years and years. They couldn't indict him because he couldn't stand trial. He couldn't understand his charges. He was gone, supposedly. He had psychiatrists that he paid and gave these reports. So through the years, and even put himself away for months at a time for care, health care. So he really documented and dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's. And the government had a tough time pinning that lie down. And they always had different people ahead of them. They played this game. So newspapers, some people said, yeah, Chin is crazy. He's crazy like a fox. But he was super fucking dangerous with this game as well. So Funzawal went on for a long time after that. I had to sit down with him once after this whole thing with Gerry Pappa. A friend of mine, Zip, from the other side, had a problem with him, something with his business. He had a fruit and vegetable business or something. And Funzawal abused him a little bit, stuff like that. And I went and saw him. Not a big deal. He was very polite. He didn't act crazy with me or anything like that. And he said, tell him he's okay. I didn't know he knew you. Thank you. And I left. But he was a powerhouse in the neighborhood. And this story is going right to Gerry Pappa and things he did. I know I got a lot of text messages that guys asked me about him, about some of these stories. And those text messages and stuff got to me. And then somebody asked me something about Funzawal, and it brought it all back to me. So I thought you'd enjoy this. And I told it to you. I'll tell you one more thing to add on to this story. Gerry Pappa's son became just like his father. Mad dog killer. He was actually a guy who killed the underboss of the Colombo family during their little war. He was the shooter. Him. And after a while, they went to arrest him. They had enough. Somebody flipped on him, plus they had enough evidence to arrest him. One of the cops who went there was a guy named Tommy Day. He was a cop in the neighborhood. He grew up in the neighborhood. He knew everybody. He was a good cop. He wasn't on the take. No. He was a legit cop. But he came around and tried to help guys who got in trouble, or even before you got in trouble. He would tell you things like, calm it down, bro. You got everybody's looking at you. He didn't take no money. He just did that in a good-natured way. So when they took down Gerry Pappa's son to be arrested, he was there. So they got him, they cuffed him, they did the whole 9 yards. In his wallet, he had a hit list. The hit list was, 4, 6, 8 names on that list. Tommy Day got in touch with me. This was years later. And he said, me and you were in good company. I said, what are you talking about? He said, my name was on that hit list, meaning Tommy Day. I said, really? He was going to kill you? Yeah. And you too. Your name was right under mine. So we were together. This kid was going to take the both of us out. So his son got arrested. Multiple murders. Multiple conspiracies to murder with that list. And he went to prison, life without parole. He's in prison now with life without parole. He'll never get out. I know people who bunked into him in prison. Real tough bastard even in prison, guys would tell me. He worked out, well built physically, and he's a fucking tough guy, mad bully type of guy in prison. So like father, like son. The father wound up dead. The son, life in prison. He'll die in prison. So a lot of these stories, when you listen to them, I get a lot of text messages from a lot of you guys, real tough guys, good guys. I like you. Listen to these stories carefully. That's the end of the road. You may like it. You may make some money. But listen to these stories. If you like it, press like, subscribe always. And for all my friends out there, adios, motherfucker.